I don't believe that we should ever have a good money again before we take the thing out of the hands of government.
Welcome back, everyone. We're Simply Bitcoin. We break down the news, the daily fail, meme review, software releases, hardware releases, and the websites by plebs. Joining us today, fellow Bitcoin pleb and educator at Bitcoin Developers Academy, Fode is joining us. But right now, we are diving into the numbers. Let's do it, people.
Number time! Brought to you by Bitcoin 2022. It's going to be the largest Bitcoin conference ever, hosted in sunny Miami Beach, Florida, April 6th and 9th. That means it's coming up. Get your tickets quickly before the price goes up. Speaker list includes Naim Bukele, Michael Saylor, Saifedean, Jack Mahlers, Adam Back, Jordan Peterson's going to be absolutely crazy. I have some good news. You can take advantage of the link down below for 10% off your tickets to the biggest Bitcoin conference ever, Bitcoin 2022.
At the time of this recording, the block height is 726,760. The Bitcoin price, 39,255. Chain rewrite days, 729. Total public lightning capacity, 3,502.28 BTC. Nico, we were supposed to have like a Satoshi moment for that, weren't we?
Yeah.
It was 500 BTC, and then we missed it. We crossed it.
The lightning effects. I'll add them tomorrow.
You can add them tomorrow? Okay, cool. So yeah, there you go. Cross that threshold. Anyways, Moscow time, 2547, blocks to the halvening, 113,240, and the Samurai Whirlpool unspent capacity. Samurai Whirlpool is a coin join or collaborative spend service. They've got 4,402.34 BTC. Whirlpooling away. Nico?
Whirlpooling away.
The numbers.
Bro, you gotta say something lightning-ish, like the Thor, like the God of Thunder. You gotta say something like that, Phil. So I could add the effects right now, bro.
God of Thunder! Ah! I have no idea what else to say.
Okay, cool. That's enough. That's enough for the effects. But anyways, guys, I got some very interesting comments, and I'm gonna pop them up. We're gonna kind of do a little round table. All right, so I took some screenshots of these. Obviously, I'm gonna pop them on the screen so you guys could follow along. So the first comment is by R, and he said, what do you guys think of Compass mining, especially for someone with high power costs? That's a very good question. Okay, so I host myself. What are the benefits of hosting? Benefits of hosting is that if you live in a place with very high electricity, usually if you live in a residential area, if you are not getting, because there's 3 rates of electricity for people that don't know. There's residential, right, which is what you pay in your home. There's commercial, which is what the subway pays, at the strip mall, right? And then there's industrial. This is what the warehouses and factories and whatever. So there's different rates for each one. Usually, when you host with someone, they have industrial rate electricity, right? So it's a whole lot cheaper for them. Now, the downside of that is that you're not in possession of that miner, right? So the hoster, especially if they're not ethical, they have complete control over you. Think about it. They have the machine. They're running it. If it's down, you can't just, go into your room and just unplug it and plug it back in, right? Which sometimes happens, especially with the S9s. They're notorious for doing that. So again, if you want to give it a go, give it a go. Now, here's the thing, because I think this is another misconception. Mining is not going to make you rich. I always recommend to people, I always tell them, if you want to get into mining, approach it like you want to learn something. Buy an old miner, buy an S9, plug it in at home, see if you like it. I guarantee you're going to learn something. I don't know if you're going to break even. I don't know if, I don't know if it's going to be a good investment, but that's not the way that you should be approaching at it. You should be approaching it as in, I want to learn something. I want to learn about the infrastructure of Bitcoin that most people don't interact with. And by just getting your feet wet, then you'll know. You'll have an itch. You'll be like, well, I really like this. I want to get more miners, and you'll figure out a way. Whether it's at home, whether you find, you find a warehouse around where you are, you scout places for cheap electricity. Now there's this whole movement around putting miners around stranded energy sources like decommissioned power plants, like, flared gas, right? Also wind turbines as well, right? I know a buddy of mine built out the whole thing around this wind turbine thing because it's isolated energy, right? And again, wind is very inconsistent. Sometimes there's wind, sometimes there's not, right? So again, approach it first like I want to learn something. The benefit with Compass is that it's a white glove surface. You don't have to do anything. You buy the miner, they plug it in, they run it for you. But at the end of the day, you're not having the mining experience, you're not getting your feet wet, and you're also trusting that other person. And a little bit that I heard from Compass, right? First of all, a great company, Wit's a good dude. I like how they run things. Also, but there's a geopolitical risk as well. We know that a lot of the Compass miners are running in Russia. And look at what's going on with Russia. They're getting clipped out of everything. So is that at risk? Is that not at risk, right? There's a lot of questions, but that only happens because you're trusting someone else to run your hardware. Versus if you're mining yourself, which is a little bit harder, especially finding cheaper electricity, it's all in your hands, right? It's kind of like the analogy that I would make is self-custody, trusting a custodian. I know it's not the same, but it's basically the same. Anyways, Phil, do you have any thoughts? And then we'll move on to Fode.
Yeah, so I'm going to be taking a bit of a contrarian view because, on your end, you're able to explain a lot of this aspect very elegantly and provide a proper answer. My answer is going to have a little bit more to do with the social aspect. I've sat in enough spaces that at this point there's a little bit of doubt because the question specifically was about Compass mining, and for whatever reason I'm hearing more and more stories that people have paid to have miners put up, and these miners have never actually been plugged in, and we're talking about an egregiously long amount of time. So again, I don't really know, right? These are the rumors, but at this point, I've been in several Twitter spaces where that's that issue has come up, and it's even been brought up to people from Compass, and there has been situations where they censored the people that were asking those questions and expressing those concerns. So for me personally, I think what you said about learning is spot on and absolutely the best approach. That's what I did. That's what you recommended to me, and I think that's the best thing I could have done. I got myself an S9, got myself plugged in, saw how this worked, and was absolutely amazed by it, and it brought me a little bit closer to understanding Bitcoin in a different way that I didn't before. So you know what? If you're gonna do it, maybe just get yourself a single miner and do it for the learning process. And if you really want to get into it, then maybe you take a look for that, try to find sources of stranded energy.
Absolutely. And which is, it has a learning curve, very high learning curve. Anyways, Fode, you have any experience with mining, bro? What are your thoughts on this?
Oh man, I have some interesting stories, man, actually. But I'll keep it short. I have like maybe two stories. I'll keep it to like two stories, and all of them actually happened in Las Vegas, Nevada. Las Vegas is a very interesting place, actually, man, because at the time we had this movement called Vegas Tech, and it was actually led by Tony Hsieh, the CEO of Zappos. RIP. He actually passed, I think, last year or so in a fire. So really sad event. But Tony actually sold. He had a company called Zappos. He ended up selling it to Amazon for like 1.8 billion dollars, and they ended up moving it from the suburb of Las Vegas, Henderson, to downtown Las Vegas. So I just happened to move to Las Vegas around that time, and it was just totally random. And I just kind of plugged into the community of Vegas Tech. Now, in that particular community, I don't want to say like too many names because I don't want to give up too much personal information. But there was one group. For the first group, basically, they received at the time. Imagine this is like 2012, actually, 2012, 2013, a long time ago, right? And they received some money for the startup, and they received also like office for the startup. So what they did was like everything was subsidized, the electricity, everything. So they started mining in the back office. And the first time I actually saw it, I'm like, this is genius because they're not paying for this space. It's free. There's security 100%. They're not paying for the electricity, and they took some crates, and they stacked them up, and they basically set up their mining. And this is like back in and those guys right now, I promise you, they're not saying anything. They're very, very happy about their business choices back in the days, right? The second one is another friend of mine. Maybe I can say his name, but okay, for the sake of, I'll just say his first name. His name is Chris. And that's like one of the most inspiring stories I ever witnessed in my personal life. So we're in Vegas around this time as well. Like all of us live in downtown Las Vegas, most of us, right? So Chris actually used to work at the Apple store, and he was interested in learning about mining. So he bought a miner and he put it in his parents' garage. But in Las Vegas, it's very, very hot, right? So the miner would go down at least a couple times a day. Yeah, it would come a couple times a day. And he wanted to basically figure out a way to maybe even get alerts on like how to basically monitor this miner. So he reached out to one of these young kids. He's like 19 years old, amazing developer, like 19 years old, never went to college, I think a high school dropout, but he ended up basically helping him write a small script to basically monitor that miner that ended up being a $1.3 million raise for a company. Imagine that, right?
Wow.
They ended up basically, tell you the story, actually how it happened was, so basically the one guy, Gabe, wrote the little script to basically help him like monitor this little thing. And they basically ended up tweaking this script. And then as they were looking into mining software itself, they realized that actually there were like a lot of holes in like really poorly written software. So they were trying to like make it better and like look into it more. Ultimately, they raised 20 grand, ended up going to Boost VC from Adam Draper, who's Tim Draper's son, over in San Mateo. And actually at the end of basically the Boost VC program, they raised, I think, like $400K or something like that, and ultimately raised $1.3 million. But that came from one person testing how to do mining in his parents' garage. And this is a real story. And again, it's like these like garage startup kind of stories, and it's like amazing, man, because I witnessed it myself. And then so I'm like, okay, this is actually really possible. I wish it was me. I wish it was me in a position or whatever, right? But it was amazing, man. Like how they really made it happen. Yeah, I'm serious. I'm serious, man.
No,
yeah.
I
believe
it.
The company. I can tell the company name. The company name is called Hash Rabbit, and you can look at the story.
Okay.
I just want to say it out there.
Cool. Wow, dude, thanks for sharing. That's so cool, man. I love having Bitcoiners from all walks of life on the show. They always interest me, especially the ones that are that you know, because one of the things, right, is what we try to do on the show, right, was we try to have plebs on the show, is because everyone's already heard the stories of the well-known people, the ones that, you know, have gone to every show and, you know, all that. You've heard the, you know, I don't want to name anybody by name, but you know, the blue chip top shelf broadcasters, you know, you've heard their stories, you know how they talk, but
top of the funnel.
The top of the funnel, but it's the plebs that have the most interesting stories because no one's ever heard them before, dude. That is fascinating. And I've heard that happen so many times in this space. In Bitcoin, there's so much opportunity. If it's not mining, you'll find something else, right? So just there's so much opportunity in this space, and it just gives me hope, bro. I hear these stories. It's all over the world. Everyone's experiencing this peaceful revolution, and it's absolutely beautiful. So we don't have time for the second.
It is.
It's super beautiful. We don't have time for the second question. We'll get to it tomorrow, guys. Don't worry. But I hope we answered your question, bro. Anyways, Phil, it's time for
the Daily Fail. Brought to you by Amber App. Check them out, amber.app. It's the best way to stack Bitcoin. Low fees, smart automation, fair spreads. The link is down below.
Amber, the smart way to stack sats.
Okay, we're going to kick it off with this tweet from Gabriel Weinberg, who is, he is the CEO and founder of DuckDuckGo. And it's kind of scary when you have a privacy-focused browser that starts touting censorship. Anyways, let's dive into this little tweet thread.
Oh, them too, bro.
Yeah, come on. We're going to comment on it, okay?
Guys, search certain subjects on Google and it will blow your mind. It's like they skew a certain direction so hard. And DuckDuckGo was like the oasis, right? It's like you could search something on DuckDuckGo. It's like you'll get the answer for it. You know, it's like you'll get this. But now I guess they're going down the slippery slope of. Anyways, I'm sorry, Phil.
No, don't be. That's a great intro. Let's dive in. Like so many others, I'm sickened by Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the gigantic humanitarian crisis it continues to create. At DuckDuckGo, we've been rolling out search updates that downrank sites associated with Russian disinformation. I wonder who's approving that list of sites that are providing this disinformation. Anyways. In addition to downranking sites associated with disinformation, we also often place news modules and information boxes at the top of DuckDuckGo search results to highlight quality information for rapid unfolding topics. DuckDuckGo's mission is to make simple privacy protection accessible to all. Privacy is a human right and transcends politics, which is why about 100 million people around the world use DuckDuckGo. And I think HODLNot's response is perfect. Okay.
Wait, see what MVK says. See what MVK had to say.
Extremely disappointed. We'll be looking for something else. Politics don't belong on page ranking.
It's like, oh, dude.
Okay.
They were so good. They were so good. Oh.
But wait, we're gonna back it up, right? So let's just be clear. What's going on with the war and everything? is obviously horrible, okay? We're not talking about support for, against, or anything like that. This is an issue of censorship, and it doesn't belong here, okay? This is ridiculous. I mean, so what? They just pretty much came out and told everyone they are the intranet of search engines. They are all becoming intranets. And it's really scary stuff. I mean, to a certain extent, you really do want unbiased search results. Like, think about it. When you go and do a search, you expect that everything is going to show up. Depending on your filters, you'll maybe see the most popular things. But if you get to page 15, you know, you'll see some of the more out there stuff that relates to your search. And that belongs there. Everything belongs there. We should not be censoring this stuff, whether it offends us or not. Look, this is how discussions happen. If we do this, this is going to destroy our language. This is going to destroy our communication. It already has begun destroying all these things. Anyways, that's my rant about this.
No, I mean, spot on, dude.
I agree.
Go ahead, Fode. Hit it, bro. What are your thoughts on this?
No, I agree. Actually, it's funny, man, because actually Gabriel Weinberg was really one of my role models. Actually, when I was becoming a developer, as a matter of fact, right? Because I was one of the first maybe cohorts of the Udacity the night Udacity launched as a university, online university. I was in the first cohort, actually, right? So we actually learned how to build a search engine, and one of the first people they invited to speak was Gabriel Weinberg at the time, right? So it was like the other guy, Steve Hoffman from like Reddit, and Gabriel Weinberg from DuckDuckGo, and it was explaining like how search engines work and what drove him to like really build the DuckDuckGo. So I was really always a big fan on all those things, right? So I know exactly who he is and actually what he built. But you're absolutely right. This actually is almost equivalent to a hard fork. You know what I'm saying? Because the problem is like, this is like really a broken promise, and actually this is exactly what got me to leave Ethereum. That's exactly actually why I leave Ethereum, because I worked on smart contracts as a smart contract engineer for 2 years in San Francisco, right? But one day really after DAO hack, when they hard forked, I left. You know, because really that's not really what I signed up for. To me, it's like we have the promise of this like really immutable ledger data structure, right? And these people, because of their own mistakes and because of their own fuck-ups, they decided to basically roll and actually change the rules. And I'm like, okay, I think actually, obviously, Bitcoin is the only truly decentralized system. So I'm basically going to work on really what I feel like is a true, I mean, not even true technology, but it's almost like, I would say, like a really real, actually like real blockchain technology to work on, right? That's how kind of how I went to basically Bitcoin. But like I said, this is really a how do you say, like a broken contract. And I'm not sure, man. I really had like a really esteem actually for Gabriel Weinberg, but I felt like he could have addressed it in a different way than like meddling with the search results. That's not somebody. That's not whatever the CEO of such a should do.
100%. It's you know, it's what's that famous Voltaire quote, right? Which is like, I might not like what you say, but I'll fight to the death to defend it. You know, and again, why would we talk about this? Because this is Bitcoin. This is against the Bitcoin ethos, right? Bitcoin, you know, is apolitical. It's neutral. You know, it doesn't pick and choose. I think that's the problem with money today, is that there's a group of people that think they know what's best, and they censor other people in the process, you know. And what is money if not information, right? You're transacting information. That's really what you are, right? So it's a slippery slope for DuckDuckGo. That's literally my main search engine, you know. I'm sure that in 5 or 6 years, you know, they'll start, it's like, you don't like certain colors, they're going to start censoring that. I'll just leave it at that to be political. But anyways, Phil, what is the next fail?
Yeah, DuckDuckGo just became a shitcoin, huh?
Yeah, dude.
It just happened there.
It's like it's like you search like, do I like the color red? No, the color red is bad. You know, like it's a slippery slope, dude. It's a slippery slope.
All right, well, look, speaking of shitcoins, let's dive right into it. Here we go. That's right. We're not making this up. From Clown World today.
Oh my God, what are you showing me, Phil?
You know exactly what I'm showing you. Okay, That's right. Dildo NFTs. We are not joking you. Shout out to ICO Sanat. Follow that account. This is the type of stuff he tags me in. Okay, look. So here we go. That's right. This just happened. Okay, so there's nothing to riff on this. This is all I have to say. I don't see what the point of a NFT dildo is. The whole point of a dildo is the use case. This has no use case. I just don't get it. Anyways, moving on. Let's move on.
Moving on.
Moving on. Okay, so now we were tagged in this several times, okay? And this is the 2 attacks on proof of stake Ghost slash Ethereum, right? This is essentially Ethereum moving to its proof of stake, and these are two attacks that have been outlined in it. We're going to take a look at them. Guys, there's a lot of technical jargon in this, which I don't think is really going to help anyone. So we are going to cover this at a higher level and just possibly riff on it from a different angle. So here we go. Okay, let's dive into it. In a nutshell, proof of stake allows an adversary with a vanishing amount of stake to produce an unlimited number of equivocating blocks. While most equivocating blocks will be orphaned, such orphaned uncle blocks still influence fork choice under the ghost paradigm, bestowed upon the adversary devastating control over the canonical chain, while the latest message-driven LMD aspect of current POS Ethereum prevents a straightforward application of this attack. Our second attack shows how LMD specifically can be exploited to obtain a new variant of the balancing attack that overcomes a recent protocol addition that was intended to mitigate balancing type attacks. Thus, in its current form, POS Ethereum without and with LMD is vulnerable to our first and second attack, respectively.
If 2.0 will never be.
Yeah, we've been saying that for a long time.
Exactly. So here, we're going to finish it up and then we're going to riff on this. So on a higher level, the balancing attack consists of two steps. First, adversarial block proposers initiate two competing chains. Let us call them left and right. Then a handful of adversarial votes per slot released under particular circumstances suffice to steer honest validator votes so as to keep the system in a tie between the two chains and consequently stall consensus. That means no transactions are getting through anymore. Anyways, it's quite feasible for an adversary to release two messages to the network in such a way that roughly half of the honest validators receive one message first, and the other half of the honest validators receive the other message first, which means they can never come to a consensus. Okay, so look. So what's happening is this, right? You've got this first vector attack. Just to explain it as simply as I can, you have a specific type of attack that occurs on Ethereum point of proof of stake, which doesn't exist yet in reality, right? So, and this attack is fixed by this LMD process, which I just described. But this LMD process introduces its own bug, which makes it its own exploit, which makes it lose consensus completely. Okay? So this is why when we talk about Bitcoin and we talk about simplicity and we talk about the base layer, okay? This is why Bitcoin's base layer only does one specific thing, and it does it with the closest absolutely possible way to certainty that it can. And all the complexity can be built on higher layers where you don't have to risk losing that value. Okay? This is why Bitcoin is simple at its base layer. This is why we keep telling you that ETH is a fucking circus. Because all they're going to do, you're going to see, they're going to I worked for a software company. They're going to introduce a patch which is going to introduce its own issue. This is what it does. This is how it works. Anyways.
No, first of all, beautifully done. I know that was a very complicated topic, so I think a lot of people are going to appreciate that. Second, I know Fode is going to slay this, so I'll just say this, right?
Oh,
Bitcoin has one vulnerability and has one point of weakness, or one very well known. It's called the 51% attack. If an attacker takes over 51% of the hash rate, or 49, 48, right? They could theoretically double spend. They can't steal someone else's coins, right? But they can double spend the coins which they have. Which has happened to shitcoins, by the way. Ethereum Classic, and I know a bunch of others. The thing is, Bitcoin has reached such a level of hash rate, such amount of computational power backing the Bitcoin network, that right now, even though theoretically it's possible, it's unfeasible, right? It's too much. It's too difficult. There's too many eyeballs watching it. Now, with proof of stake, the thing is that there's literally 5, 6, 7 vulnerabilities, right? And there's no way to fix them, just like there's no way to fix the 51% attack, the one vulnerability with Bitcoin. The thing is, they come up with contingencies, right? So it's what you said. It's like there's a proof of stake problem. They come up with LND, right, to try to fix that. Now you'll see is that they're going to try to come up with another solution, but none of them is a perfect solution. So if you compare proof of work and proof of stake, there's a lot more vulnerabilities in the architecture of proof of stake than proof of work, which is why it's taking the Ethereum guys so long to migrate to ETH 2.0, which, by the way, we've covered. They rebranded. Now it's something different now, right? And which is why they'll never get to it. Because what they would like you to believe is that you can have a cryptocurrency without the expenditure of electricity, while the expenditure of electricity is a feature, not a bug. That's what makes everyone play by the rules. Anyways, I know Fode is going to dig a little bit deeper on this. So why don't you hit it?
No, you covered it, man. You covered it, actually. You covered it, actually. And actually, I think when you described it earlier, I was looking for the name, but it's called the Lindy effect, right? Lindy effect. That actually, which means that, what did I say again?
The longer something exists, the higher
the longer it is, actually
the longer probability it will survive.
Of it surviving.
Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly what it is, right? And the problem actually, again, in Bitcoin is like beautifully simple, and it's been ticking like a clock for the last 12 years, right? The problem with Ethereum is that the attack surface is so huge, man. Attack surface is actually immense, actually. And if you actually understand how it works, actually, from like something that has a virtual machine in it versus something that actually does not. Because actually, Bitcoin is very, very simple. Do you know that Satoshi is amazing, man? Because you know why? Do you know that Bitcoin script is based on a language called Forth, Forth? I want to look it up, right? You go to forth.com, Forth. Actually, that's what it's based on. If you go to the Bitcoin wiki, it said that basically Bitcoin script is a Forth-like language. I had a random chance to learn Forth when I was in Hawaii once. I used to live in Hawaii for a couple of years, and I was working with an engineer from Apple, and that guy basically worked on the Apple firmware. So actually, his job was to minimize the time it takes from when you press the on button on your Mac computer to when the Apple logo shows up on the screen, right? Every year, they shave a little bit out of it, actually. Yes. So it makes it faster. When you press on the button, it basically, the Apple logo shows up, right? Because they want to make it faster and faster and like really whatever, right? That actually is written on a prefix core package. I can't remember actually. I wouldn't have to remember, but it was written in Forth. And I happened to actually spend Christmas with this guy for a week, and he decided to teach me his language. I don't know why he actually decided to do so, but I'm like, okay, let's go. I learned this thing, and ultimately I'm like, actually, no, this is kind of crazy because it's used for like really complex industrial systems, like those power grids and all those things, right? Because this language actually sits there, but it's a very simple, what they call like stack-based programming language, and actually that's how basically Bitcoin is built. So if you look at it, right, it is very, very simple, but it's elegantly simple and highly complex underneath it, right? But the attack surface is very, very similar, like you said, right? Because Bitcoin right now, the biggest attack actually is a 51% attack. And actually, if that happens, as a matter of fact, right? With Ethereum, nobody in the world has ever went from a proof of work to proof of stake in this world. Nobody has ever transitioned, right? They say they have the, so I said, okay, give it a shot, right? But your system is already complex as is. The attack surface is immense, right? You say you're going to basically move from this system to the other. But I feel like what people tend to forget is that the reason Bitcoin works so well is because of mining. Mining is the only thing that ties in the digital world to the real world.
Yes.
That's the only thing, bro.
Bingo.
Right? If you have this thing, actually, this system that's actually purely digital about staking, whatever, it's going to be manipulated. Yeah, you might actually manipulate it. You're going to also have like other attack vectors you have never even thought of again, right? It's going to be patch on top of patch on top of patch on top of patch, right? In the end, it becomes what? Not a blockchain, but a pumpkin patch. That's what it is.
Man, it's beautiful, man. You're spot on. Go ahead, Phil.
Oh no, I was just gonna say they already lost. They already lost when they forked and they did the DAO. It's exactly what you said.
They lost.
I mean, look,
they already lost.
At that point, it was done. They should have just kept going, and they would have maintained their integrity.
Bro, but Fode, that was beautifully said, right? The miners is what anchors Bitcoin to reality. You can't cheat. because it's guessing.
Yes.
You can't go around it, right?
Yes,
so just requires a bunch of
Yes,
computational power just to guess, and the lucky chicken dinner gets the block reward. But anyways, Phil, it's time for the Daily Meme Review. Brought to you by Citadel 21. It's the best Bitcoin cultural zine. It's stories, articles, comics by toxic, savage Bitcoiners, by plebs, really. It's real shit. Pleb signal in here. It's also different artwork every volume. They're scarce. There's only 1,000 copies made per volume. There's only 1,000 physical copies. So get your print of volume 10 today. All right, first meme is brought to us by Ghost of Wartime Limbert. If Ethereum was a car. Look at it. I thought it was a regular car, dude.
I love this template.
Oh my god. Yes. This is exactly what Fode just explained. All right, moving on. And this is a reply to a Coinbase front page. Unsure what to buy. Right? Does it really say that? Oh my god. Picking assets could be tricky. Bro, these people are the devil, man.
It's so
what does
awesome.
Alex Jones say? They're demons. They're demons. Okay, anyways. Here is RD, Brian Armstrong, trader, Coinbase. Yeah, dude, it's so true. That's so fucked up. Okay, anyways. Because it gives the false illusion to people getting in that what they're buying is the same as Bitcoin. It's just, dude, it's oh my god. Okay, anyways, by Chairforce Hodl, normies are exhausting. Talking to normies for 30 minutes, a 3-hour conversation with Bitcoiners. This is so true, dude. You know, I've lost my normie friends. I can't, we don't speak the same language anymore. They're in the fiat matrix. Anyways, next one by RD as well. Way beyond that, mate. No coiners. They're going to ban it. Bitcoiners, no coiners. And this is the executive order from Biden that we covered yesterday. President Biden has signed executive order. And look, to be honest with you, the executive order wasn't as bad as people were expecting, but it also told us that, holy shit, they're not going to give over those keys lightly. They're going to really, really go hard with those central bank digital currencies, and they're going to track Bitcoin's proof of work, which is what makes it uncorruptible through the environment, stuff. Mm-hmm. Anyways, even though we know that actually Bitcoin could potentially make green energy profitable. So it's just, anyways, that's the fight ahead of us. This is the last meme. I forgot to turn on the volume, so.
That was funny.
Dude, what fucking good meme, Phil. I don't even. Oh my god! I don't even. Wow. Okay, Phil. What would you give those?
That was great.
Memes?
That was awesome.
All right.
What would you give those memes?
This is going to be very tough and very niche, but here we go. Because yes, I keep everything in mint, even the stickers. All right, I've got this Anthony Carrera sticker from like 25 years ago. That's right. It's a skate sticker. If you know, you know.
Interesting.
Boom.
That's right.
I'm going to give it this tequila bottle that I got at Unconfiscatable, that I won in the poker tournament.
Nice.
Unconfiscatable 2022. Yes, I had to empty it out. I'm sorry, Tone. I had to empty it out because that's the only way I could fly with it, and I'm not going to check in my bag, okay? So, but I am going to keep the bottle. I'm going to put it up there. Anyways, Fode, what would you give those memes?
I will give them, what do I have? I would say this vintage Gucci wallet that's kind of falling apart. It's like,
wow.
It's like I had it. It's a Gucci wallet, but I had it I never changed it because it's like so just torn up, and I've had it like really for a long time, and it means a lot to me because I've taken it to every single country. So I might have to give you a maybe wallet, a vintage Gucci wallet.
It has history.
I like it. It feels like it's part of the design. I like it. Anyways,
that's right.
Awesome scores. Let us know down in the comments, guys. Comment, and help us defeat the shitcoin channels. And of course, make sure to join our Telegram group down below. Link us some dank Bitcoin memes to review, and make sure to subscribe to us on alternative video platforms like rumble.com, and our personal favorite, you'll find all the Bitcoin content there, bitcointv.com. So if they decide to stick, you can find us on Bitcoin TV all the time. But anyway, so it's time for the daily news.
That's right.
Brought to you by CryptoCloaks.com. They make the best 3D printed Bitcoin merch, like the famous 3D printed Bitcoin art sculpture grenade. Opens up, you put your favorite hardware wallet in there. You can get it in any custom color your heart desires. They also make other cool stuff like the 3D printed honey badger, and you can take advantage of the link down below for 5% off anything on the store, CryptoCloaks.com. Now, I'm sure you guys have already heard this by now, but you haven't heard it from the pleb perspective. So check this out. This is the Wall Street Journal. Inflation reached 7.9% in February. Consumer prices are the highest in 40 years. Now, if you've been listening to non-plebe content and you've been listening to the experts, this should come as a surprise to you. But Simply Bitcoin has been telling you this exact thing was going to happen for over a year now. And why did we know? Well, because we keep showing you these charts. There's a point in this show where Phil would get mad at me because I would pull this up every single day in the news segment. And he's like, you're pulling it up again? I'm like, yes, we have to put it into people's minds. So when they talk about the supply chains, the virus, the war in Ukraine, no. The inflation is coming because they're printing a record amount of money. This is the M2 chart. It represents what the money supply is. And as you could see, look, it goes back all the way to 1960. And then in 2020, they absolutely lost their fucking minds. Excuse my language. Okay, so what is the justification for printing the money? We've also covered this many times on this show. Here's 2008. This is when they started doing this. The justification is called the Mandrick mechanism. It's very interesting. So what they do to justify printing money is that the Treasury issues and sells bonds, and they usually sell those bonds to the open market. But nowadays, you know who buys those bonds? The Federal Reserve. So the government is technically the Federal Reserve is an independent bullshit. So the government is selling bonds to themselves to justify the fucking money printing. Clown world. Clown fucking world. That's what I have to say about this. And as you can see, look at the fucking goddamn Fed asset sheet. This thing, look, in 2008, they're like, oh, we're just going to do it a little bit. You think they could reverse this? Nah. But they're going to try to tell you anyways. But anyways, let's read some more of the clown world stuff. Let's see what they're blaming this stuff on. Strong demand for goods from consumers and supply chain constraints related to the virus pandemic have elevated inflation over the past year. And all of these articles, with all these educated news journalists and uses, no one is talking about the printing of money, the historical amount of printing of money. Nobody. That's when you know you're onto something. It can't be that two fucking morons, sorry Phil, on YouTube.
That's okay.
We have a stupid show. Like, how the fuck are we more accurate than the experts? Clown world. Anyways, look, but it's not only the supply chains, Phil. Economists expect additional price increases related to the Ukraine crisis. Very convenient. After crude oil prices in March hit their highest level since 2008, and U.S. gasoline prices reached record highs. Clown world. But guess what, Phil? You know how they stopped the inflation? They stopped printing the money, obviously. But no. You can't have that. Check this out. An article by Bloomberg Opinion. This is real. This is a comedy. This is real. The Fed needs to delay its rate hikes. The Federal Reserve is widely expected to raise interest rates by at least 25 basis points next week. And if inflation stays high, the Fed is prepared to raise by more than that in the coming months. And the next paragraph, that would be a mistake. Okay.
They're going to stab the stock market in the heart.
Okay.
That's what they're going to do.
A couple things here. Satoshi knew this was going to happen. Okay? Literally, the Genesis blog says Chancellor on the second bailout for banks. One of the things that Satoshi said was you can't trust central banks to not debase the currency because that's what they always do. Is this the end of fiat? Dude, I don't see. Look, guys, here's the two things, right? We had Mark Moss to fact check this, so I feel confident saying this. They have a couple things. They have three things really they could do. First thing is they stop the money printing, but in the process they completely destroy the economy. The Democrats get even more destroyed in the midterms. Biden has no chance at re-election. I don't think they'll do that. Second option is they keep printing money. The problem is, if they keep printing money, guess what happens? More inflation, right? And then the third option, which we've already seen Senator Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, hinting at this, they're going to try price controls, right? They'll try to blaming, it's not that we're printing a lot of money, it's the evil corporations and they're being very greedy. This is clown world. The reason we cover this is opt the fuck out of this bullshit. Just opt out. Just take your energy, your work, your time, your wealth, take it out of the system, put it into Bitcoin, take it into self-custody, and you don't have to deal with this fucking madness, because that's what it is. And this is what makes this show different, because you have the other shows and the news shows and whatever, and they're talking about this. But we're actually giving you a solution. We're actually giving you a way out, right? Anyways, rant over. Phil.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. So I think I read yesterday that they passed this $1.6 trillion package, didn't they? No.
Where the fuck are they getting this money from? You see the money printer meme? Like,
I mean, look, it's exactly what you said. It is total, utter clown world. But what's really scary is that I don't think they can stop printing. And I don't think that they can raise interest rates, because I don't think they're willing to kill the market. Look, right now they are not raising interest rates, and the Dow still plummeted in the last week. Okay? So there comes a point, right? I'm actually reading, I'm actually listening to When Money Dies, the whole story about Weimar Germany. And I think that people, I didn't really appreciate how long that whole situation took to play out. How many different tricks the government tried to fool people into getting the economy flowing again, But at the end of the day, all that ended up happening was people had to go and spend their money faster and faster and faster in order to be able to afford the goods that they needed from day to day. So unfortunately, I think that they can continue to kick this can down the road for a little while, but we are definitely entering that stage where it's starting to become painfully apparent. I mean, look at the inflation that we're seeing quarter to quarter. In the past, they were able to hide it, right? Mm-hmm. They were able to hide it with the inflation, raising the inflation rate, the interest rates and stuff like that. But now we've come to that tipping point where you start to affect millions of people in a very real way immediately. So you can't just do something and wait for some ripple effect months down the line. That you do something and it changes right away. So now they're coming to that point, okay, where we're talking like the 1920s, which is ironic because we are in 2022. So that does seem kind of weird. But anyways, I'm afraid because I don't think they actually know how stupid they're being. I just don't, right? I think it's like you've said, they're acting on their own incentives. So I just think they don't know how stupid they're being.
It worked for so long. Why is it going to work this time? Anyways, Fode, what do you think of this? What do you think of this madness?
Maybe they don't have a choice. I mean, to me, it's just the fiat game is dirty, man. Like I said, when you can easily print this money or this so-called money, there's nothing behind it, and that's why that paper just came out about that guy from Credit Suisse about Bretton Woods 3.
Yes,
he's so amazing. But actually, most likely in the future, this currency will be backed by commodities or whatever else it is, right? Because if you look at even because the fiat game in Africa is even dirtier. Right, because if you look at West Africa, where I'm from, where there's these 15 French-speaking African countries, right, who do not control their own money. So the fiat money that we use in Africa, in Senegal, myself, is printed in the south of France.
Yes.
Can you imagine that, right?
It's the North African franc and then something else, right?
Yeah, actually, it's more like East and West kind of so they have two groups, right? I think 8 here or 7 here. But even that CFA is not really fungible. When you go to the CFA, you go to this Ivory Coast, they look at it, they're like, maybe this is not the right one. So some people don't even want it, right? But the idea is that these African countries sell their commodities in the international market. They receive dollars, which is worthless these days, and they give it in turn to the French, and the French give them another worthless currency. You understand what I'm saying?
It's,
There's actually, you understand, right? So when we when we sell oil in the international market, we sell it for dollars because of petrodollars, right? And actually most commodities as well. We actually sell it for US dollars. We get the US dollars, but we cannot pay our people with US dollars. So what do? We take all that money, send it to France, and France prints this like shit money on toilet paper and send it to us for us to use in Senegal.
that's fucking
Imagine
crazy.
that, right?
That's
So,
fucking crazy.
Yeah, but that is actually, but it's not crazy, right? So you have like the destiny of all these countries being basically controlled by this other sovereign country somewhere else. But then you're like, okay, well, what is it? What is the solution? There's two options, right? One, we let the African governments make this money, but we know what's going to happen. They're going to print even more money than everybody else. Corruption in Africa is actually tremendous, right? When this government get a hold of the printing press, it's over. Right, they're going to print some more money for themselves, for their friends, their cronies. Basically, what's happening in Russia right now with all these oligarchs and everybody around Putin, right? Like I said, when you get close to the money, you know what happens, right? So we got two is basically we go CDBC or like digital money. So now, okay, the digital money is only digital. Why does actually France have to make this money? If you're going to transition from like paper money to digital money, who's going to be in charge of making the digital money? Because again, if you give it to our like governments and we don't have a public auditable blockchain, we know what they're going to do with all that power because of the sheer amount of corruption that's in Africa right now, right? So to me, I believe that actually in the future, maybe it's going to be maybe like actually startups that's going to be actually in charge of making this money, man. As crazy as it might sound. As crazy as it might sound, actually.
Fode, first of all, I read the story about the North African franc, and then there's two versions. Absolutely fascinating. Yes. It's controlled by France, right? It's not even issued by sovereign countries in Africa that use that currency. Yes. I'm gonna pull up a map just to kind of show you guys where Senegal is, so you guys could understand. This is where Fode is from. Right, is Senegal in the west of Africa. Really cool stuff. So listen, and let me pull this up as well. This is a chain analysis, crypto adoption, and if it's an interactive map. If you go through in every country, it tells you the best score is a 1, right? So it scores it 0 to 1. About 0.26 Nigeria, 0.22 Venezuela, obviously a lot of inflation, 0.25. India, 0.37. Vietnam, 1. It sounds like the Vietnamese really like Bitcoin and shitcoins. China, even though it's illegal, still 0.16. Yeah. South Africa, 0.14. Nigeria, I already went to that. Senegal, 0.03. So, Fode, my question to you is, what is the adoption of... I have to say shitcoins, Phil, because that's the reality. When I say shitcoins, I don't mean Ethereum or whatever. I really mean Tether. Because people are really attracted to Tether because of the false stability that it provides. So, Fode, what is the actual adoption? What is the use case? What is the situation on the ground in Senegal? Do people realize how much power they have, or are they still asleep?
No, it's happening. It's happening for sure. So again, we go back again to the language thing, right? Because most of the world's knowledge is in English. Right, most of the world's knowledge is in English. I think maybe less than 5% of the world's knowledge is in French. Right. So what's happening in Africa is that the English-speaking parts of Africa are moving way faster than the actually French-speaking parts of Africa. If you look at the map, right? If you look at the map, the scores from like South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana, all these places, because actually they're English-speaking. So actually they have access to like information. They always have access to the latest information. So when it's actually the kids like speak French and the English is not there, that information trickles down a little bit slower to them, basically, like actually, right? But there is for sure an uptick in demand. I think I might have something to do with it because I really have like a strong base in Senegal and like people that I work with and stuff like that, whatever, right? But over the years also, unfortunately, yes, shitcoins and NFTs and all these things actually start to like really pop up where, unfortunately with Bitcoin, if you came like a little bit later, you got so much information. You can really discern what from what actually. You don't know who's who in the zoo. You know what I mean? So the idea is like, us, I feel like we really take it for granted, but being in industry or being like such OGs, we were there from the early days. So it was easier for us to like actually grasp this information, like like absorb it and like all these things, whatever, right? But at home now, it's funny actually. The number one most popular coin is Tether on Tron. Unfortunately, actually, in Africa right now, that's really one of the most popular. That's one of the most popular, basically, coins out there, whatever, right? But there's a huge demand for BTC right now because I'm also like I am a advisor for a startup called CoinHub in Senegal right now. So what it is like they basically they allow for anybody to buy Bitcoin with mobile money, which is actually very, very important. Again, right? Because people don't have access to credit cards and stuff like that, right? They don't have Visa, MasterCard, whatever. But most people actually in Africa, in Senegal, let's say, have access to mobile money. And mobile money is just basically like a Venmo or like or whatever, right? You basically go to a kiosk, you give them cash, and they give you basically these credits on your phone. And you can send them to your aunt or to your uncle in the village and all that stuff, right? You can transfer the money. So it makes it easier. That integration actually is amazing, because anybody can like quickly buy basically BTC with mobile money, right? But now the demand is kind of crazy, because on the marketplace itself, people will not sell you BTC unless you have like $1,000 at least, right? The minimum actually amount that they sell is about $1,000 actually right now nowadays. So, and there's a huge demand, and the people who are actually able to arbitrage.
It's fascinating too, Fode, because I want you to explain this, right? Because what we're used to in the West is we have very good financial rails here. So the exchanges, especially in highly developed countries, what you'll see is exchanges, and those exchanges will connect to your bank account, and you could wire and have your money in the bank account, whatever. But what tends to happen in my home country of Venezuela or Senegal or the Caribbean is that doesn't exist. So it's all peer to peer. It's all peer to peer. So
that's right.
Why don't you speak a little bit about the peer to peer, and another question on top of that, Fode? What percentage of the population would you say has adopted Bitcoin for its function to protect their wealth from debasement?
Okay. For the first part, right now, peer-to-peer mostly actually happens on Telegram and WhatsApp. Where WhatsApp is like really number one, right? WhatsApp, you have like these private groups, you have to be invited, they have to vet you, and then you can come in there. Then there's this person that sits in the middle that does like all the escrow and sending the money, receiving the coins actually, but they take a huge cut right now. They're making a lot of money, right? Because unfortunately, if somebody trusts in the community, they're sitting in there and they're looking into it, right? But I heard also recently that the government is getting actually really wary and like really getting involved, because they are worried about money laundering and all those things. So they want to make sure that these groups are legit, but they're trying to crack down or like maybe investigate. I'm not sure exactly what's happening, but I heard that there's some like rumors on the ground that government is not too happy about these private groups and moving too much funds like around these things, right? But again, if you're using mobile money, you can't really hide, because your mobile money actually is tied to your phone number. Because usually in Africa, your phone number is most likely your ID kind of. That's your social, your ID, that's your all, everything actually, because most likely you are a mobile only user. Right? Not people here like say mobile first, whatever. I'm like, no. People actually in Africa would have never experienced the internet on a computer. They have always experienced the internet through their mobile device. They skipped it completely. So it's a mobile only world actually. They skipped it. They skipped it, man. It's mobile only. It's mobile only, man. You know what I mean? So now your mobile number becomes like actually like your identity itself, and then your SIM card becomes your identity. Because nowadays, if you operate a mobile phone with an unregistered SIM card, since the attacks in Kenya, I think there was maybe like 5-6 years ago, the terrorist attack, right? You will actually get in trouble if they catch you with like unregistered SIM, right? So which means actually your SIM and your number kind of become your identity, right? It becomes also your wallet itself. So that's how people are able to like transact and buy things and all that stuff, right? So actually that's done. Now adoption, like Bitcoin itself, like a store of value and such, right? That only a few people, I would say like a small subset of the people actually who have money understand that, right? Everybody else is speculating. Unfortunately, everybody is speculating, right? Because I gave away a lot of money over the years. I gave away a lot of sats, man. A lot of people today probably worth a lot of money, right? But most of those kids sold it actually. Yeah. Right. Because and actually it's funny because the same thing is happening in El Salvador.
Yes.
Right. Ask anybody, walk around El Salvador and ask people actually if they have a BTC in their wallets, and I guarantee you most likely the nut is zero.
Yep. Nope. I agree.
Right? The money, the BTC just flows to the top.
People are using, instead of using BTC, which I suspect this is going to change as this inflation thing plays out, people are seeing the stable coins, specifically Tether, as the savings mechanism rather than Bitcoin. And that's the same story. I'm also hearing that coming out of Venezuela. I hear that all the time. It's about Tether, right? Yeah. We read you guys the examples about Afghanistan. And same thing in Afghanistan, right? It's tether. Phil, we have time for a small little point, and then we got to move on.
Okay, here we go. Just a quick question. Okay, so just to wrap up about the adoption, what is the biggest hurdle in Senegal to adoption that you think is, in your opinion? Like, what is the biggest hurdle to Bitcoin adoption there? Because shitcoins are more difficult to use. You have an extra layer. So for me, I I feel like, well, what is it that they're missing? You know, what can we provide?
You know what it is, man? You know what it is? You know what it is? You know what it is? I think like this whole experience, man, what I noticed, right? I think it's two things. One is like people don't have money to buy BTC. Right, people don't have money, man. Like Africa is very poor. If you look at the population itself, right, it's like people are living hand to mouth, right. Whatever they earn today, they basically consume. So it's very hard for them to actually put their money in this asset they don't quite understand, and also this asset that's highly volatile. Because if you're poor, you cannot afford to lose more money.
Yeah.
Right. If I have $100 worth of BTC today and I got to feed my family, I cannot afford to wake up tomorrow and it's worth like $70 because it's down 30% overnight. That's actually impossible. If you're poor, you can actually have that, right? You know. So for me, what it is like, and also like, the second part is that these shit coins are doing massive airdrops in Africa, bro. Right? The kids, because it's free money. They're doing like massive airdrops, right? And they have these influencers or these other whatever they call them, right? And they're doing like massive airdrops, right? So those kids, so for someone who never had anything, and you give them like some of this free money, right? They're going to be excited about like that actually money that they just got. So ultimately, it's no longer about BTC. It's about really where can I get this free money that I'm hearing about, this like this crypto, these coins, blah blah blah, right? So it becomes like this frenzy, this hustle. How do I hustle to get some of these coins, blah blah blah, whatever, right? This one is better. This one went up 100x, 10x, blah blah blah. And actually, this is what I hear. And they used to like really frustrate me because I'm coming here as a software engineer and I want to teach these skills and teach these like the value of like really what I care about. And these kids want to hear about the shitcoin or the shitcoin. And they used to like really make me mad, you know? But I think what's going to happen is that right now we are actually on the second phase. Second phase actually is basically Bitcoin as a monetary network. And I'm going to tell you why. Because Cash App in America just integrated Lightning Network, right? Which means that if I have an application that my mom has in Senegal, actually I can somehow, some way, if that application integrates with Lightning as well, I can send money to my mom through Cash App directly. And that's possible actually because of the monetary network. And actually, this is actually what, and actually I got the insight from really actually looking at actually how actually Strike was built.
Yes. Because
when I listen to Jack Mallers, I'm like, actually, he's absolutely 100% right. The monetary network is people actually underestimate actually what that means. What it means is that like now, when other companies come on this monetary network, right, we have a true network effect. Right, which means that me again, right, and I'm talking about again because when you're building solutions, whatever, right, you gotta basically work on problems. I feel like you have yourself, right? Because Silicon Valley, they don't have the same problems we have in Africa. They don't have the problems that I have. I want to send money to my mom from here. I'm in California right now. I want to send money to my mom from California to Senegal, right, to her phone. But I don't want her to have to worry about basically BTC, right? Because she wants the stable value. What is the stable value? I send a Lightning payment to this address. That address in the back turns it into mobile money.
Yes.
And it changes the game, bro.
Yep. You don't even have to deal with Bitcoin, the commodity. You just use the best money rails, money network on the planet. Right?
On the planet. Yep. All of a sudden, like, because, you know, in America right now, Venmo people on Venmo can send money to people on Cash App. People on PayPal can send money to people actually on whatever, right? But true. I can send money from Cash App if I want to another application in Africa that uses Lightning. That's amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah,
it's amazing, bro.
It's absolutely going to change the world.
Amazing. It's a game changer.
Super bullish, but we're out of time, Phil. It was an open source software release today. Why did I tell everybody about it?
Software releases. Brought to you by CipherSafe. Check them out. CipherSafe.io. It's the best place to store your Bitcoin seed. Store it in the Cypher Wheel or the all-new Cypher Grid. Comes complete with punch tool, and they both come with a tamper-resistant wire. All right, we've got Nick's Bitcoin version 0.0.66 that was released. It's down below in the show notes. Don't forget to check us out on our audio-only platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. All right, guys, that was our show. Before we go, I want to give a very special shout-out to our awesome guests. His name is Fode Diop. You can go give him a follow on Twitter at Diop Fode. He is part of the Bitcoin Developers Academy. Super cool. He's a Bitcoin educator. I also want to give a very special shout out to our awesome sponsor, rephard.com. Represent. Phil and I try to wear those hoodies every single day. And we do wear those hoodies every single day.
Nice.
And you can take advantage of the link down below for 10% off anything on the store, rephard.com. Guys, that was our show. If you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. And of course, you want to continue hearing the catastrophic fails from the site. I laugh every time, genuinely, because I'm thinking about all these things that these central bankers are doing. Absolutely hysterical. the fails and the Bitcoin news from the pleb perspective, definitely consider subscribing to Simply Bitcoin. We'll see you tomorrow, guys, for a brand new episode.
To quote our awesome guest, with shitcoins, you end up with a pumpkin patch.